Picture this, a world of glittering palaces, where the Nile whispers secrets of a kingdom unlike any other. In the heart of ancient Egypt, a young girl is born, one whose name will echo through history, Cleopatra, not just a queen but a force of nature, a woman who captivated empires, outwitted rivals, and bent the course of time to her will. But before the crown, before the legend, there was a girl shaped by ambition, loss, and a hunger for power. Who was she? Let's step back to the beginning, to a world of intrigue and destiny, to uncover the early life of Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. Cleopatra VII wasn't just born into royalty, she was born into a storm. In 69 BC, Alexandria was a city of wonders, a melting pot of Greek culture, Egyptian mystique, and Roman ambition. Her father, Ptolemy XII, was a king, but not the kind you'd imagine. He was a man clinging to a crumbling throne, desperate to keep Rome's favor. And her mother, likely Cleopatra V, was a woman shrouded in mystery, possibly a concubine or a forgotten queen. We don't know much about her, but we know this. Cleopatra's blood was Macedonian Greek, tied to Alexander the Great's legacy, yet her heart would beat for Egypt. She was the third child, born into a family where siblings were not just rivals, they were threats. From the moment she could walk, Cleopatra was surrounded by whispers of betrayal, power plays, and the weight of a dynasty teetering on the edge. But something set her apart. Even as a child, she wasn't just another princess. She was curious, sharp, with a fire in her eyes that seemed to say, "This world is mine to shape." What was it about this girl that made her different? To understand Cleopatra, we have to dive into the world that forged her, a world of opulence, danger, and destiny. To know Cleopatra, you have to know her world, the Ptolemaic kingdom. This wasn't just Egypt. This was a realm born from the dreams of Alexander the Great. When he died in 323 BC, his empire fractured, and one of his generals, Ptolemy I, snatched Egypt for himself. He built a dynasty that blended Greek brilliance with Egyptian mystique. Alexandria, their capital, was a jewel of the ancient world, a city of marble libraries, towering lighthouses, and scholars from every corner of the earth. But by the time Cleopatra was born, the Ptolemaic dynasty was rotting from the inside. Her family had ruled for nearly 3 centuries, but they were plagued by infighting, greed, and a dangerous dependence on Rome. The Ptolemies were not just kings and queens, they were gods in the eyes of their people, descendants of divine blood, yet they were all too human. Siblings married siblings to keep the bloodline pure, but those ties bred betrayal, murder, poison, and exile were as common as feasts in their halls. Cleopatra grew up in this snake pit, watching her father, Ptolemy XII, struggle to hold on to power. He wasn't a strong king. He bribed Roman generals to keep his throne, draining Egypt's wealth and earning the nickname Oletes, the flute player, because he has so much love for music. But for all his flaws, he gave Cleopatra something invaluable, a front-row seat to the game of power. She learned early that survival meant outsmarting everyone around you. This was the world that shaped her, a kingdom of beauty and betrayal, where every smile hid a dagger, and Cleopatra was taking notes of everything. Now, imagine being a young princess in Alexandria, surrounded by the greatest minds of the ancient world. Cleopatra wasn't just raised to wear a crown, she was raised to wield her mind like a weapon. Her education was extraordinary. She spoke 9 languages, from Greek to Egyptian and Aramaic to Hebrew. She studied philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and rhetoric, soaking up knowledge like the Nile, soaking up rain. Unlike her predecessors, she learned the language of the Egyptian people, the first Ptolemy to do so. This wasn't just about words, it was about connection. She understood that to rule Egypt, she needed its heart, not just its throne. Her tutors were the best, scholars from the Library of Alexandria, poets, and priests who taught her the ancient rituals of the Nile. She wasn't just a Greek princess, she was becoming an Egyptian goddess. But it wasn't just books and rituals. Cleopatra was trained in the art of charm, the power of words, the dance of diplomacy. She watched her father negotiate with Romans, saw how a well-placed smile or a clever phrase could shift the tides of power. She was young, yes, but she was already playing the game, and she was good at it. By her teens, she wasn't just a princess, she was a force, molded by knowledge, ambition, and the weight of a dynasty on her shoulders. But the real test was coming. In 51 BC, everything changed. Ptolemy XII, Cleopatra's father, died. The throne was hers, but not hers alone. At just 18, Cleopatra was thrust into a world of chaos. Her father's death left a power vacuum, and Egypt was a prize too tempting for anyone to ignore. Rome was watching, the court was scheming, and Cleopatra was ready, or so she thought. His will named Cleopatra and her younger brother Ptolemy XIII as co-rulers. She was 18, and her younger brother was barely 10. In Ptolemaic tradition, they were to marry, a grotesque custom to us, but a necessity for their dynasty. Cleopatra wasn't just stepping into power, she was stepping into a cage. The court was filled with vipers, advisors loyal to her brother, and nobles who saw a young woman as easy to control. They underestimated her, but she was later crowned as the queen. From the moment she took the throne, Cleopatra faced challenges that would break most. Egypt was in debt to Rome, its granaries strained by drought, its people restless. And her brother wasn't just a co-ruler, he was a pawn in the hands of men who wanted Cleopatra gone. She had to act fast, think faster, and trust no one. She began to rule as if she were the only queen, striking her brother's name from decrees, minting coins with her face alone, bold and dangerous. She was claiming Egypt as hers, but every step she took lit a fuse. Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII were siblings, but there was no love between them. Their co-rulership was a battleground. Ptolemy was young, impressionable, and surrounded by advisors who whispered poison in his ears. Men like Pothinus, a cunning eunuch, and Achilles, a ruthless general, saw Cleopatra as a threat, a woman who ruled alone. They wanted Ptolemy as their puppet, and Cleopatra out of the way. Cleopatra tried to outmaneuver them. She courted the Egyptian people, presenting herself as Isis, the living goddess. She traveled the Nile, won hearts, and built alliances. But in the palace the walls had ears. Every move she made was watched, every word twisted. By 50 BC, the tension snapped. Ptolemy's advisors forced her out of Alexandria, branding her a traitor. She fled to Syria, gathering an army, her heart burning with defiance. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning of her fight. Cleopatra was down, but never out. She was learning, adapting, and preparing for the moment she do return to claim what was hers. And that moment was coming, carried on the winds of Rome. Cleopatra's story is just beginning. From a girl shaped by a crumbling dynasty to a queen fighting for her throne, she has already shown us what she's made of. But the world is about to get bigger and more dangerous. In the next episode, we will dive into the heart of her legend, her relationships, her diplomacy, and the men who would shape her destiny. Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, alliances forged in passion, power, and betrayal. What did it take for Cleopatra to charm an empire, and what did it cost her? Join us in the next episode as we unravel the loves, the lies, and the legacy of a queen who refused to be forgotten. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's sail down the Nile together.